There are moments in life when the ache inside us feels deeper than anything we can explain. Moments when your chest feels tight for reasons you can't put into words. When tears come without asking permission. When something inside you feels unsettled or shaken or simply tired in a way you didn't know was possible. And maybe nobody around you knows. Maybe nobody sees the heaviness you carry in your mind, the pressure behind your eyes, the questions that swirl when the world around you goes quiet. It's strange, isn't it? How the hardest moments in life rarely announce themselves. They just arrive, quietly, unexpectedly, and suddenly you're sitting in the middle of emotions you don't know how to process. And if you're honest, maybe you've had a moment recently where you asked yourself, why am I hurting like this? Where is this sadness coming from? Why does this worry feel so loud? Sometimes the tears we shed aren't even about one thing. Sometimes tears are what happen when too many feelings gather in one place, and the heart can no longer hold them alone. And that is where today's episode begins. Not with answers, not with solutions, but with a question. A question Jesus himself asked someone who was standing in her own moment of heartbreak and confusion. A question that carries comfort. A question that carries tenderness. A question that carries presence. The kind of question that doesn't judge you, doesn't rush you, doesn't demand that you be stronger. Just a question that sees you. Later in this episode, we'll step into that moment of scripture. We'll step into that quiet garden scene where Jesus looked at someone who felt completely lost. And he asked her something that still reaches across time to you and me. But before we go there, I want to sit with you for a moment, right where you are, right in whatever you're carrying. Because maybe today, you need someone to slow down with you, someone to breathe gently beside you, and help you untangle the things you don't yet understand. So let me ask you, softly, slowly, without pressure, how's your heart? Not the version you show everyone else. Not the strong face, not the brave tone, not the "I'm fine" you've practiced, but your real hurt. Is it tired? Is it stretched? Is it tender? Is it overwhelmed by things you never expected to feel? Sometimes we don't even notice how much we're carrying until something small, a sentence, a memory, an unexpected shift in that day brings everything to the surface. And suddenly, the emotion that's been tucked away rises quietly to your eyes. Maybe it's disappointment that you haven't named yet. Maybe it's fear that's been hiding behind your responsibilities. Maybe it's grief you didn't know you were still holding. Maybe it's loneliness that has been building silently. You don't have to explain any of it right now. You don't have to name it perfectly. And you certainly don't have to fix it. You just have to breathe. And be honest, at least with yourself, about how deeply you're feeling life today. Because the moment we stop running from what we feel is the same moment our heart begins to open to God in ways we didn't expect. Now let's step into scripture, but gently. Not with analysis, not with pressure, not with anything heavy. Just presence. A quiet scene. A tender question. John 20 brings us to a garden at dawn. Light barely touching the edges of the world. The air still cool. The kind of morning where everything feels fragile and silent. Mary is standing there, weeping. She thinks everything she believed in has collapsed. She thinks the one who brought meaning to her life is gone for good. She thinks the story is over. And then something unexpected happens. Jesus appears. But she doesn't recognize him. Not at first. Her grief is too heavy. Her heartbreak is too loud. Her world feels too shattered to see clearly. And Jesus, gentle, patient, never pushy, looks at her and asks, "Why are you crying?" John 20, verse 15, NIV. Why are you crying? not as a rebuke, not as a criticism, not as a you should be stronger, but as an invitation. An invitation for her to breathe, to pause, to let him into the pain she's been carrying alone. And maybe right now, that's the question your heart is hearing too. Not what's wrong with you. Not why can't you handle this. Not why aren't you better, happier, steadier, stronger. No. Just why are you crying? What's weighing on you? What ache have you been carrying without telling anyone? Jesus asks because he sees you. He asks because he cares. He asks because he's near, even before you notice him. Mary didn't recognize him immediately. Maybe you haven't either. Not because you don't believe, but because sometimes pain makes everything feel blurry and distant. Sometimes the very moment Jesus is closest is the moment you feel the most alone. I want you to picture something with me for a moment. Imagine you're sitting at the edge of your bed, early in the morning, when the world is still quiet. Your shoulders feel tense. Your thoughts feel tangled. Your chest feels heavy in a way you haven't told anyone about. And then, without warning, without a spotlight, you simply sense someone sitting beside you. Not forcing a conversation, not handing you a list of instructions, just sitting with you. There's a long pause, a gentle silence, a breath. And then softly, talk to me. Tell me what's hurting. Not because he needs the information, but because your heart needs release. That is the tone of John 20. That is the heart behind Jesus' question. That is the moment he steps into your life, not demanding, not disappointed, not distant, just near. If today your emotions feel close to the surface, if something in you feels unsettled or stretched thin, if tears have been quietly waiting behind your eyes, hear this. You're not breaking. You're not failing. You're not weak. You are human and you are deeply loved. And even if you can't quite see him in your situation, even if your doubts are loud, even if your emotions are all over the place or confusing, Jesus is closer than you think. Closer than the pain. Closer than the fear. Closer than the moment you're trying to navigate. And he's asking you tenderly, what's going on inside your heart? What has been weighing on you? What tear hasn't fallen yet, but is ready to? There is nothing too small for him. Nothing too complicated. Nothing too tangled. Nothing too hidden. Sometimes the healing begins not when the circumstances change, but when we finally let him sit with us in the middle of the feeling. So if your heart is weary, let yourself rest for a moment. If your thoughts are spinning, let yourself breathe. And if emotion rises to your eyes, let it fall without shame. Jesus is not afraid of your tears. He's not offended by your pain. He's not shocked by your emotions. He simply sees you fully, gently, quietly, and he stays. Let this spark carry you. One step, one moment, one breath at a time.